Kevin Smith continues going back to the well, but does Clerks 3 work better than, say, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot? Look, I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. His positive attitude in life and his collective work from movies, books, and podcasts are some of my favorite, but his last few films, at least in my opinion, haven't lived up to what we all know he is capable of. With that said, Clerks 2 may very well be my favorite entry in his View Askew Universe franchise. It is the culmination of everything he learned to that point, and he left nothing on the table. The writing is superb, the directing is amazing, the casting and acting are on point. So, Clerks 3, seemingly with the same cast, seemed like it would be another home run and a no-brainer, right? Now, this is going to be a review full of spoilers because I can't properly review it without spoiling anything, so be warned. This movie takes place more than 10 years after Clerks 2. We find Dante and Randall living the dream, working at the Quick Stop. Unfortunately, during one of Randall's rants with Elias, he suffers a heart attack, which opens his eyes that he believes he should have done more with his life. Dante unknowingly pushes him to make a movie about that life. The movie Randall ends up making is essentially the first Clerks film with a mix of Clerks 2, it appears. During all of this, though, we find out that Becky, Dante's love interest from Clerks 2, was killed by a drunk driver, as well as his child. Now, whether the child was unborn or not isn't really explained, nor does it really have any ramifications on the story. But it's one of those things that I think would have been better to understand, because where we last left the two of them at the end of Clerks 2, she was pregnant. So they're one of the few issues I had with this film. Now, because of this, though, Dante has been unable to move on with his life. When he is forced to relive a moment of his and Becky's life for the movie that Randall is making, Dante has a panic attack and rushes off. He shows up the next day of shooting completely drunk, to which leads to him freaking out on Randall, thusly ending their friendship. Unfortunately, though, during this rant, Dante falls over and has a heart attack himself. While Dante is in the hospital, Randall rushes off, edits the film, and finds his way into the hospital to get with Dante. And while Dante is sitting there all connected up to a breathing machine and a whole bunch of monitors, Randall shows him the movie he was making, highlighting that Dante was the star of the movie and not Randall. It's at this moment that Dante dies. Now, don't get me wrong, there are many moments throughout this film that can kind of allude to what is going to happen here, and I think that is, I want to say it's an issue with the film. To me, this is the worst possible ending that could have been made. See, the movie they made was exactly that, the movie they made was exactly the first Clerks, which, okay, nice little meta moment there, but Dante dying, I don't know. I just feel something felt wrong about that. You know, thinking of his character, someone who is looking to be a success in some fashion in his life, whether it's in relationships or business or what have you. And this all from the first Clerks film in the 90s. There's never an actual payoff, finding of that for him. And he dies. I guess in a way it does feel a little bit too real, and that's kind of tough to take in. I mean, even me as a 36-year-old man going through similar things, I feel though that I've been successful in life in a few different ways. Have I done everything I wanted to do? No, but then again, I've accomplished some things, and I think that is where my issue lies with this movie is Dante has never been successful in anything that he has accomplished except for his friendship with Randall. And that's a little disappointing because that's not what Dante wanted since the 90s. With that, the size of the movie felt incredibly small. At least when you're comparing it to, say, Clerks 2 or Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back or Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And the acting was subpar. Some of the decisions made with certain characters like Elias felt ridiculous and unneeded. And it kind of, speaking of Elias, his charm was lost due to the decisions they made. I really don't know what I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't this. Perhaps because the jokes rarely landed with the film, that it just seemed boring, and then leading up to Kevin Smith trying to get an emotional reaction from the audience just kind of fell flat. Maybe that's... I don't know. Look, I know Mallrats 2 is pretty much next up on Kevin's list. However, for me, after the abysmal Jay and Silent Bob reboot and the mediocre attempt at Clerks 3, Mallrats 2 might be one I skip. Maybe.